This is Huohuo boosting Jingliu's damage by eliminating her only flaw, which for those that are unaware is the fact that Jingliu takes a huge DPS loss when outside of her Bankai. What if I told you that was just one of the possibilities you'll experience in this video? Henshin a go-go, baby. What's good, guys? Yoku here, and today I'm going to show you how the new 5-star character Huohuo works. What are some of the best ways to make the most out of her buffs and some of the most damaging teams to squeeze her in? If you're wondering whether or not she's a viable solo sustain unit you should pick up, then stick around and listen up. It's time to put Huohuo to work.
Knock, knock. The door isn't gonna hold much longer.
Starting things off right, Huohuo is not a DPS. I'm sure you can come up with some wicked simulated universe build, but today Huohuo is here for business. In order to do her job, she's equipped with her signature light cone Knight of Fright, along with a 2-piece relic set split between Longevous and Wandering Cloud. Her talents are 8-8-10 locked into Eidolon 0. And yes, I'm aware not everyone is aiming for this signature light cone, so throughout the video I'll have alternating footage of her using the new event light cone A over here. Later on in the video, I'll detail some of the other loadouts I found useful, so stick around for those. Huohuo excels at keeping the team alive thanks to the combination of her abundant skill and talent. Think of her skill as an evolved version of Bailu's, but instead of randomly healing allies, it's completely controlled. The main target and then the two beside them. It also has the added benefit of dispelling any one debuff you might have. Now, since healing comparisons aren't the same as damage, I wanted to dig into how healers are used on a team and what questions were common amongst the community. On screen, you should be able to see a brief comparison of some of the different healing combinations that all efficiently got the job done. On average, Huohuo consistently healed for about 2000 HP and at the highest around 3k. What makes her healing even better is the passiveness from her talent. Similar to why we view Luocha as the best healer in the game, Huohuo is capable of consistent heals without needing to use SP every single time. Unlike Luocha, who can only heal once every 2 turns within the field, Huohuo's talent gives her this unique trait called Sacrificial Life. Not only does this heal a teammate at the beginning of their turn, but also whenever they use an ultimate or sink beneath 50% HP. It even dispels debuffs the same way her skill does, which is huge for helping out with a lot of these new enemies Hoyoverse has been creating. Looking at you, stupid sexy Joppa lady. Having reactive healing is practically invaluable for any team focusing on maximizing damage per second. You won't be forced to use a skill point at the beginning of the turn either, thanks to her third trace, Fearful to Act. The unfortunate side to all of this is that Huohuo has an oddly high energy cost for a healer, and her first trace tries to make up for that, but 1 energy just feels like it isn't enough. And yes, you heard me correctly, literally 1 energy. Who or what thought this was a great idea is beyond me, but maybe it's the thought that counts. There was something pretty interesting that we figured out about this trace, which might lead me to have different thoughts and opinions about it entirely. The gist of it is that with the energy regeneration rope and how many times each of your units are attacking on the team, the 1 quickly somehow turns into 19. The math behind that is beyond me, but I'll have it on the screen. Making a lemon sweet is nearly impossible, but she tries her best by using her ultimate for the betterment of the team. The biggest selling point here is supposed to be the 20% energy she gives back to the rest of the team, while also increasing their attack up to a whopping 40% for a couple of turns. While I would love to praise this entire ultimate, it honestly feels a bit lackluster. The attack buff is fantastic. It was a great way to skyrocket my Daniel's attack to nearly 5k. The energy regen, however, felt a little too strict for my taste. You guys know speed tuning, right? Where you fine tune specific character speed to fit before or after your main DPS. Think of that, but add energy into the mix. Not only should she be speed tuned for her own energy sake because she has the highest ult cost in the game, but you also need to look out for their energy to know how much she'll give back and when. Using Jingliu, for instance, there were so many times Huohuo would overcap the team, be wasted on 1 or 2 units who already had ult, or provide no real value in changing their normal rotations at all. A part of me felt like Huohuo's energy problems wouldn't exist if this number was anything higher than 1, and I mean anything.
Knock, knock. The door isn't gonna hold much longer.
Thankfully, Huohuo's gear is a lot less demanding in order to get the job done. Since everything about her is HP based, focusing on having as much HP as possible should be your first goal. A comfortable number to use as a baseline is somewhere around 6k. You'll do well with an HP orb alone, giving you the option to run speed boots and an outgoing healing chest, but you can opt for an HP chest given other conditions are fulfilled. Your actual relic set comes down to dealer's choice: Messenger for the extra speed, Longevous for the extra HP, or Wandering Clouds for some more outgoing healing and the extra skill point. Personally, I feel like the Longevous is mandatory unless you possess some amazing HP percent rolls on your other pieces. Then you can start playing around with the Messenger speed builds. Now, some of you might be looking at an HP percent rope instead of an energy regen rope, and that should be the last thing you think about swapping. In the event you don't pull her signature light cone or use an S3 post-op conversation, replacing the rope is just asking to never have your ultimate. With both of these light cones plus an ERR rope and using 3 basic attacks with 1 skill, she still just barely misses a clean 4-turn rotation by 2 points, not including her first trace. She needs to get hit or use 2 basic attacks and 2 skills, which should help keeping up her sacrifice life. That also makes her SP neutral. All of that said, these are my favorite light cones for Huohuo. Her signature offers the right amount of ER, double HP restoration from her talent, and an extra attack increase for the team. Time Waits for No One is great for helping remove an outgoing healing chest with a free increase in HP and gives its own natural outgoing healing from the light cone. It works wonders in stacking your HP up towards 10k. Hey, over here is the new event light cone, and this felt like a mini version of Bailu's signature. Since it's an event light cone, you can S5 it for free, giving you 12% max HP and 28% outgoing healing when using your skill that lasts for 2 turns. So not only will that affect her skill, but it'll also affect her talent when it's healing everyone else on their turn. Last was post-op conversation. I know a lot of my peers will recommend this because of the ERR, but that's if you have an S3 or higher. Why I don't like this on her is because the second half of the light cone is just wasted. Her ult doesn't heal, which means that outgoing healing boost really doesn't exist. But let's see what all this does once we add it to a team.
Knock, knock. The door isn't gonna hold much longer.
The first team I wanted to trial was obviously anything Jingliu related, mainly the idea of permanent Bankai. Happy to say I did it. With the right setup, and by that I mean just paying attention to who's using ultimate when, I was able to keep Jingliu in a permanent state of Bankai until the enemy was defeated. Also, side note, for those that are new, I call Jingliu's transcendent state Bankai because she's like an entire Bleach character wrapped into one, and I love it. Tingyun and Huohuo work simultaneously together in order to keep Jingliu's ultimate topped off, and with the constant rotation between the two of them, Jing is always buffed up. Adding an agility character like Pela leads into hyper carry, but using Blade for a dual DPS works just as efficient. After that, I started experimenting with more characters that have lower ultimate costs but could attack twice as fast. Circa, Zila, Topaz, and Sushang, who performed phenomenally with Huohuo, and it almost feels perfect. Because of Huohuo's passive, Zila just never dies, and adding her ult into the mix gives them even more damage, especially if you're using the new planar ornament set to increase their damage output. With their naturally high speed mechanics, each of them create a pseudo life-stealing effect because they'll move about 2 to 3 times more than Huohuo in a single turn. This also aids in helping get Huohuo's ultimate back even faster because of that trace I talked about earlier. But Sushang is a special case thanks to her E6. This is almost exactly like E2 Zila, so either option works. Sushang's talent takes her speed from 107 to 150. After that, you only need 10 more speed points to trigger the new Glamith ornament set for an 18% increase in raw damage. Combine that with attack boots, Huohuo's attack buff, energy regen ultimate, the fact that Sushang's ult cost is low, and you've got yourself a powerhouse 4-star. The last team I wanted to test dealt with Tingyun, and surprisingly, I enjoyed using him with Huohuo. Now, we'll say Fu Xuan is probably the better pick because of the damage increase as well as the crit buff that he really appreciates, but I was able to achieve 141 speed with Tingyun, which allowed him to stack Lightning Lord up to 10 times on his own. Huohuo and Tingyun keeps Tingyun's energy topped off practically every single turn, which essentially replaces Asta's need for speed. Now, in the event you manage to score an E1 Huohuo, she fixes that issue on her own. Some of the other teams I tried involved characters like Welt because of the idea that I could have his ultimate up at all times, but it didn't exactly work like that. She still works great with other characters, but requires a lot more tuning. Regardless if you run her fast or slow, if you want to make the most out of Huohuo, you'll need to keep your energy costs in check.
Knock, knock. The door isn't gonna hold much longer.
Now, a lot of you were asking me the question, E1 or light cone, and that really comes down to what you want to do. E1 is amazing for extending her talent an extra turn, making her rotations more manageable, but what's really important is that speed increase. As long as her talent is active, everyone on the team gets a 12% speed increase, and I like this. Coupled with the way that the first trace works, giving her a bunch more energy, I personally value E1 a lot more than the signature light cone. Per usual, if someone manages to snipe an E6 Huohuo, let me have that. It's for a greater cause. But that's it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button. Huohuo is an interesting healer that I'm sure gets even better with time. The combination of a Harmony and Abundance character is powerful in its own right, and with the recent dev notes about new permanent game modes, we're looking at a great future for Honkai Star Rail. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube, but if you want to see more content regarding Huohuo, check out this video here. Smell you later.